Hi, folks, and welcome back to the channel. This week, we're going to discuss a little bit more in depth as to what to do in selling your personal property. And we're going to cover quite a few things, so let's get started. So, the first thing that anybody wants to do as far as looking at their personal properties, take an inventory of the property. And if there's some question of whether or not it needs to be appraised, that's the opportunity to go ahead and do so. Secondary, when you do the inventory, you want to take a list of all the items first and then not just stop and say, well, we're going to pick this up after this thing gets appraised. You want to take a thorough inventory of all of the items, and you even want to look inside of the chests and go all the way to the bottom because there may be something that's in those chests that you don't know anything about, or it's a chest that has had been there for since the 50s or 60s, and you might have done a rudimentary look, but then if you go deeper into it, you find out that there's more to it, more than meets the eye. By taking the inventory of all items, appraisers and estate tag sale companies, if we say, do you have photographs, you can just email them to us and we can get a value pretty much of what you have. Now, if there's questions about the uh, value of antiques, art, jewelry, and other high value items, that is the time where you can send them to us, and we will take a look at it and go, you know, in depth as to whether or not it's going to be good. The next thing is deciding how you want to sell the property, and there's multiple different levels of each one of those. And depending on the value of some of the items, you want to consider the various selling methods, such as an estate sale. That's that's ideal for selling a large volume of household goods. I'm going to tell you that it's not necessarily the most expensive way of doing it, but I am going to say that uh, we do 2 day sales. The first day, everything is full price. The second day, it goes to 50% before noon, and then it goes to 90% off by 3 o'clock. And then pretty much everything that's left over is either disposable or donatable. And then we set up the time to for pickup for the donate side of the house on that next Monday. Um, and there's two ways of doing it. One, you can do it yourself, which is, I'm going to tell you, a lot of people overthink it. And the reason why they overthink it is because they think there's got to be a tag on every single item in the house. And then there's a professional estate company. We will go in and we will take a look at the stuff that's inside a particular room, and we will decide whether we want to sell the entire room, or if we want to take those items out that are a higher value and put them front and center where they people walk in the door and then they buy them for the higher price. And the reason why we want to do that is because we want to ensure that we're getting the best price for what is there. So furniture is one of those things where it's so subjective that we have just objectively said we don't have enough time on this planet to wait for somebody to come in and buy the furniture that they find correct or they find proper. So it might be one of those things where if we have a room that has the entire bedroom suite, we'll go through all the drawers and take out any of the personal items. And there's two reasons why we do that. One is that it gets rid of the personal items, and the second is, being a Depression era rec- recovery kid, um, sometimes they would tape stuff to the inside. Sometimes they would put stuff at the bottom. Sometimes they would lift up the paper and put money or jewelry or stuff like that. So it gives us the opportunity to make sure that we grab a hold of anything that we can turn around and say, hello, Mr. Executor, Mr. Administrator, Mr. Attorney, this is something else that we found. What would you like us to do with it? We found tons of silver. We found tons of money doing that. Anyway, I digress. But the whole reason why we want to do a whole room is because if we have a bedroom suite and we have quilts that are not necessarily handmade, some of the handmade quilts can go for thousands of dollars. Your Kmart quilts that they bought at Kmart will go for uh, fives of dollars. When I mean fives of dollars, I mean $5. Um, and it allows us to go ahead and get those rooms cleaned out because your number one thing that you want to do is you want to sell the house, right? There you go. Uh, so you can do it yourself. However, your marketing is going to be somewhat limited. You're going to find that it's more difficult at every step of the way. And not only that, but it's going to be difficult because you don't know if you're going to be pricing it with sentimental value or by market value. Or you can have an estate sale company come in like ours, and we will come in and just objectively price everything according to how the markets have uh, told what the markets have told us it's worth. And we may put it up a little bit higher just in case. And there's some negotiating. Auctions are suitable for high value and rare items. A lot of people think that they're going to have an auctioneer come in and they're going to do an estate auction from one end of the house to the other. Those are not so common anymore. And the reason why there's not so common anymore is because the prices of personal property have fallen almost 2% a year for the last since 2000. So when you take a look at a personal property auction that used to bring in $10,000 from 1999 to now, you're talking about a $5,000 sale, and there's really not enough meat on the bone for either the auctioneer or the estate anymore. However, if you have vintage stuff, tractors, specialty items, or any of those particular things, an auction is absolutely going to crack it out of the ballpark. In fact, your real estate will surprisingly will probably gain you quite a bit of bank when it comes to actual sitting down and doing a real estate auction versus a traditional sale. There's plenty. I mean, some people will say that, well, auctions are the last ditch effort to selling real estate, and then all the empirical evidence is, well, we got 104% of the price, the market price for a particular property. So you have to weigh those two things, and you're going to have an auctioneer who's also a real estate broker to come in and tell you what the difference is. On one hand, we have one piece of property that is worth probably tax value says it's worth 139, but we know with the current codes and everything else, it's probably going to be worth about $30,000. So we have that problem of, do we sell it at auction for the $30,000 or do we try to sell it at traditional for 139? I can tell you it's been on the market for 7 years at 139 and it's not going to move. At auction, we get the property, we can sell it, and we can get it out of the hands of the current seller and into the hands of somebody new, just for the sake of doing that. Other high dollar, high value items is your silver, coins, guns, that kind of thing. However, with the guns, even if you were an executor, you have to be wary of all of the laws regarding guns. You can't just have people come in going, oh, I'd like to have that gun, and then you go and you give them money and you give them the gun. There is a whole new thing that you have to do when it comes to those, and it's gets quite involved. The next thing that you have is you have the ability to sell stuff in consignment shops. There's quite a few consignment shops around here where you can take it in there and they'll put it on a shelf and they'll tag it with your tag, and if it sells, then they'll send you a check. Those are great for some very good high quality vintage items or some very good decently decently conditioned specialty items. I have a click what do they call them, a click derby thing, where it as it gets pulled, it goes click clack click clack click clack click clack from Fisher Price from the 1950s. decently, it'll bring $50 in a consignment sale. At auction, it'll bring $5, and at a estate sale or estate tag sale, it'll probably bring 90% off the $50. So you have to understand that there's different markets for different things. At a consignment shop, you're still going to be paying a commission. Auction, you're going to be paying a commission. Estate tag sale, you're going to be paying a commission, and each one of those are going to also have the cost of selling it, such as credit card fees, labor, if you have to have bathrooms or anything else like that. But I like consignment shops because I can go in and I can take a look at it and see what they got it priced for. And usually it's priced at market price that they find using at least 3 or 4 different venues to price it. Online marketplaces. Now, this one is a little bit of a sore spot for me because you have Facebook Marketplace, which has people who just peruse. And when they peruse, they'll say, is this item still available? So if you put an item out there, say a 1964 plate that is gold enameled or something like that, you put it out there and people will just inundate your inbox with, is it available? Is it available? Is it available? I put a 2002 Chevy Silverado out on Facebook Marketplace, and I had 406 people ask me if it was still available. And in my ad, it said, don't ask if it's available. If it's still here, it's still available. And it's going to be the first money that comes through the door. So the problem is that you're going to have to manage it. And believe you me, you're going to have to log in once a day to manage it. There's some people like me who log into Facebook probably every other day. There are people who, like me, who log into Nextdoor probably once a week. So it's important for you to understand that you're going to have to management. It's going to take a lot of resources. Other online marketplaces such as Craigslist and eBay, you're also going to have to manage that as well. So it's important to realize that when you do this, it's going to be a part-time job. The other part of it is you can engage in professionals such as ourselves. Estate sale companies, auctioneers, real estate agents can provide valuable assistance in managing the sale process, ensuring that items are priced correctly and sold efficiently. One of the things that are common that I get is I get people who are in a tizzy because what they did was they went to the real estate agent who has no prior experience whatsoever with probate or anything else like that, put the house up on the market and sold it. Now all of a sudden they're calling an auctioneer to get rid of everything inside of the house. Well, auctioneers are booked. Estate tag sales companies are booked. It takes almost 30 to 45 days for me alone to get an online auction up and ready. And then with that, it's most people are looking either 3 days or 2 weeks. And I'm sorry that there's not too many people who can help them. And around here where we are, there's not anybody that can really help them because we are just absolutely slam packed. We're slam busy. So you have to understand that there's a project management template out there that says, okay, how do you want to handle the personal property? You always want to handle the personal property first because you have to get rid of the personal property to sell the real estate. If you sell it backwards, then you created a problem for yourself as to, oh, geez, what am I going to do with all this personal property? And you might have tens of thousands of dollars worth of quality goods there. If it's one of those 2 or 3 day things, then I'll be happy to come down and I'll walk through stuff that I think that I can sell, put it online and sell it. But by no means am I going to take a moving van down there and move even the trash can out and then try to go through picking through all of that stuff and doing that. Those days are over for me. I'm old. And a lot of your new estate companies will do that. So whenever you talk to a real estate broker who is not an estate tag sales specialist or an auctioneer, it's important for them to realize that if they put the house on the market, there's also going to have time in order for the estate tag sale company or the auctioneer to come in first. That's why I am both the estate tag sale company, the auctioneer, and the real estate broker. So by just having the one person do it, it can be managed from soup to nuts. Can we have the house sold in 60 days to 6 months? Absolutely. However, what are you doing with the personal property? Because the personal property is what's going to hold up the house sale. Okay. So it's important to realize that a one call solution is probably going to be your best because you're going to get most money for everything versus you got the most money for your house and now you're having to pay for all of these extras. Plus, now you're going to have to move for the labor. You're going to have to pay for the labor and everything else for moving the personal property somewhere else. So your costs explode whenever it turns into, oh, geez, I got to, my house closes in 2 weeks. I have to have this cleaned out. So it's important to call the one person who can do the whole project, soup to nuts, versus just the nuts. And now all of a sudden you're going to have to find somebody who's going to have to make the soup and desserts and all that other stuff. See, me starting from the personal property and going to the real estate, it's a seamless process. Whereas you sell the real estate first, now all of a sudden it's mass chaos. Um, and it's also important for us because then we're not doing, if you sell the real estate, then we're not coming in and doing an estate tag sale and selling stuff for pennies on a dollar, because now we're trying to get rid of it versus trying to maximize the amount of money that we're trying to get into the estate. So let me say that again. If you sell the real estate first using a real estate broker and we come in and we're doing an estate tag sale, we're not selling it. We're selling it for pennies on the dollar to get rid of it versus selling it for the maximized amount of money. That's why it's important to have somebody who can do it from the beginning to the end. That being said, that was setting your expectations. Understand that not all items is going to fetch the best price at all. I mean, we've seen probate houses go up for sale at courthouse steps, and a $400,000 house sell for $10,000 because it's been sitting there for almost 15 years. If it would have been kept up and it would have been not burgled and everything else, it would have brought the most money in. So you have to understand that not all items are going to fetch the biggest price that you can. Like if you had an AMC Gremlin, we'll probably get about $2,500 out of it. If you had a 1968 GTO, we'll probably get $35,000 out of it. It depends on if it was redone or if it was well kept. The cumulative value of selling many items will still significantly benefit the estate. And what I mean by that is if you have the one tchotchke that everybody's trying to sell for $1 million, and you get that $1 million, all of a sudden you get that same person who wants to buy $500,000 worth of other stuff. So put that little tchotchke at about $300, and now you have people who want to pay $10, $20 for the other stuff. So it's a bulk mentality that you cumulatively sell stuff and you can turn around and get better pricing. Not only that, but it's also important for you to understand that I take a look at 3 different pricing models. I do not do eBay because eBay is one of those things where I can take a picture of this bottle of Starry right now and somebody will be trying to sell this bottle of Starry out there for almost, $300 when I can go down around the corner to the Food Line and pick them up 3 for $12. That's eBay. Unless you're clicking on completed sales and looking at the completed sales stuff, you find out that this $300 bottle of Starry sold for 5 cents. So there you go. Anyway, If you have any questions about any of this, please don't hesitate to give me a call. 919-614-6288. My name is Matthew Price, and I am your real estate broker and your auctioneer. And the important thing is that I want you to understand that selling personal property from an estate rather than throwing it away offers huge advantages. Financially, it can cover critical costs such as the attorneys, moving, painting, new carpet, and stuff like that. And it can practically help you with logistics. So rather than paying $180 an hour for somebody to come in and take everything out of the house, you actually have the buyers come in and take everything out of the house. So the buyers buy it and the labor is free versus $180 an hour for somebody to come in, pack it in a truck, and then take it to storage. That is another thing that you probably are thinking of. It's like, can I take everything out of the house and pack it into storage and pay the first or second month's rent and then move on? Well, yeah, you can. However, they call me to auction off that room that you have rented with all of your stuff in it or all of the estate stuff in it. And usually I'm getting $50 to $100. Whereas a lot of this could have been 10, 5, 10, $20,000 in the estate's pocket and not the $50 that's in the pocket of the storage facility. So practically it amplifies everything. It simplifies everything to call a project manager who can go from, hi, how are you doing? What do you have? All the way to, let's sell the house. So anyway, I am Matt Price. I am your auctioneer, your estate specialist, and your real estate broker. My number is 919-614-6288, and you can get a hold of me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It rings straight to this phone right here. And you can email me at matt.price@ebb, that's ebakerbaker.ids.com anytime, and I will be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Have a great week.